To understand the man who would one day hold France in terror, we must return to the quiet town of Arras. Here, a young Maximilien Robespierre suffered a profound loss. His mother died when he was just 6. Soon after, his father, overwhelmed by grief, abandoned Maximilien and his siblings. Orphaned, Maximilien was left in the care of his grandparents. His world shattered. This double abandonment left a deep scar, teaching him that the world was unpredictable and unsafe. He learned early that he could rely only on himself. Seeking refuge, he became intensely studious and disciplined, pouring himself into books and ideas. He built a fortress of self-control, suppressing emotion and craving order. Maximilien was reserved, solitary, and obsessed with rules and rightness. The chaos of his childhood forged in him a desperate need for certainty. This worldview, rigid, uncompromising, became the foundation of his character. The orphan from Arras was already learning to see the world in black and white. His pain would one day shape the destiny of a nation. The seeds of the revolutionary were sown in loss. As a young man, Robespierre won a scholarship to Paris, where he felt like an outsider among the elite. Surrounded by privilege, he found solace in the radical ideas of the Enlightenment. One philosopher, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, captivated him. Rousseau's vision of virtue and the general will became Robespierre's personal gospel. He saw in Rousseau a path to redeem both France and himself. Robespierre adopted virtue as his guiding star, integrity, honesty, and devotion to the public good. He lived simply, modeling himself as a man of principle in a corrupt world. His quest for moral purity became an obsession, transforming personal anxieties into a public crusade. For Robespierre, there was no room for compromise, only right and wrong. This black and white thinking comforted him, providing the certainty he craved. He was no longer just a lonely orphan, he was a soldier in the army of virtue. His devotion to Rousseau's ideals would soon shape the fate of France. The pursuit of purity became his mission. But this rigid idealism would have dangerous consequences. The line between virtue and fanaticism was already blurring. When the revolution erupted in 1789, Robespierre was a little-known lawyer. Elected to the Estates General, he arrived in Versailles without charisma or power, but he possessed unwavering conviction and a reputation for incorruptibility. He championed the rights of the common people, calling for universal suffrage and the end of slavery. He refused to compromise his principles, earning the nickname the Incorruptible. His integrity made him a beacon in a time of chaos. The radical sans-culottes saw him as their champion. Robespierre's power came not from wealth or force, but from his moral authority. He became the leading figure in the Jacobin Club, the revolution's radical heart. Yet, his rigid sense of virtue set him apart, making him judge and guardian of the revolution's soul. Anyone who disagreed was not just wrong, but corrupt, an enemy of the people. His strength became a weapon, dividing friend from foe. The Incorruptible's pedestal was growing ever higher. The seeds of terror were sown in the soil of virtue. Robespierre's vision was about to turn deadly. The revolution soon descended into crisis, war, rebellion, and fear. Robespierre, once opposed to the death penalty, now saw violence as a tool for virtue. He argued that the Republic could only survive through ruthless purification. Terror, he declared, is justice, prompt, severe, inflexible. As head of the Committee of Public Safety, he unleashed the reign of terror. The law of suspects allowed for the arrest of anyone deemed an enemy. The guillotine became the revolution's grim symbol. Thousands were executed, first true enemies, then rivals, then friends. Robespierre sent even his former allies to their deaths, convinced only he knew the path to virtue. The quest for a perfect society became a bloodbath. The Incorruptible was now the architect of terror. The revolution was devouring its own. How could Robespierre justify such horror? His obsession with purity, born from childhood trauma, became a dangerous force. He saw the world in absolutes, patriots or traitors, good or evil. This allowed him to dehumanize opponents, seeing them as a cancer to be cut out. Robespierre believed he was chosen to save France, a savior burdened with a sacred mission. This conviction isolated him, making his judgment seem infallible. As the terror intensified, so did his paranoia. He saw conspiracies everywhere, trusting no one. Every disagreement became treason, every rival a threat. The more he purged, the more enemies he created, fueling a cycle of fear. He was trapped in a fortress of suspicion, losing touch with the people he claimed to serve. His quest for purity had become a descent into madness. The revolution's high priest was now its most dangerous zealot. By the summer of 1794, France was exhausted by fear. The external threats were gone, but the executions continued. Robespierre could not stop. His vision of a virtuous republic was still unfulfilled. At the festival of the Supreme Being, he appeared as a would-be savior. But to others, he looked like a tyrant. The fear he had spread now turned against him. In July, he addressed the National Convention, hinting at traitors but refusing to name them. Suddenly, everyone felt threatened. The next day, the convention turned on him. He was arrested, powerless at last. A failed attempt to rally his supporters ended in chaos. Robespierre was wounded, silenced, and finally sent to the guillotine. The Incorruptible met the fate he had dealt to so many. The revolution's architect of terror was destroyed by his own creation. The cycle of violence had claimed its most zealous servant. Robespierre's story is a timeless tragedy, a warning about the dangers of good intentions gone astray. He began as an idealist, wounded by loss, seeking order and justice. His pursuit of purity became an obsession, blinding him to compromise and compassion. The republic of virtue he sought allowed no dissent, no humanity. In seeking to create a perfect world, he unleashed terror and cruelty. His greatest strength, moral certainty, became his greatest weakness. It led him to believe he alone possessed the truth, turning opponents into enemies. When leaders claim absolute righteousness, history shows us where that path leads. The shadow of Robespierre looms over any movement that confuses virtue with fanaticism. His legacy is a chilling reminder: virtue without compassion is cruelty. The road to tyranny is often paved with the language of justice. The most dangerous leaders are those who believe they are saving the world no matter the cost. That is the enduring and terrifying legacy of Maximilien Robespierre.